She was a queen who used her charm as a weapon and her bedroom as a battlefield. This is the story of how Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt, captivated two of the most powerful men in the Roman world and nearly brought an empire to its knees. Her ambitions and love affairs created shockwaves that destabilized Rome and forged a legend that still echoes 2,000 years later. But was it all just love and lust? Or was this a brilliant, ruthless political game played by one of history's most remarkable women? The answer is a captivating tale of power, passion, and strategy that forever altered the course of history. Let's set the scene. It's 48 BCE. The Roman Republic is tearing itself apart in a brutal civil war, and Egypt is in chaos. A 21-year-old Cleopatra has just been kicked off her own throne by her little brother. She's a queen with no kingdom, powerless and in exile. Meanwhile, the most powerful man in Rome, Julius Caesar, has just arrived in Alexandria. He's 52 years old, a legendary general at the absolute height of his power. Cleopatra knew this was her one shot. She couldn't beat her brother's army in a fair fight, so she decided to win over its most powerful ally. In a move that is still breathtakingly audacious, she had herself smuggled past her brother's guards and right into Caesar's private rooms. The historian Plutarch tells us she was rolled up inside a carpet or a bed sack. When the bundle was unfurled, out popped the young queen. But it wasn't just a pretty face that captivated the world's most powerful man. Caesar found himself face to face with a mind as sharp as his own. Cleopatra was fiercely intelligent, spoke multiple languages, and knew politics inside and out. She wasn't there to beg. She was there to propose a partnership between equals. Caesar, a man used to women simply trying to please him, was completely intrigued by this bold, brilliant woman who challenged him. That night, their alliance was sealed, a union of politics and passion. Caesar put her back on the throne, and in return, he got access to Egypt's staggering wealth to fund his wars. Their relationship quickly grew, and Cleopatra soon gave birth to his son, Caesarion, or Little Caesar. This baby wasn't just a love child, he was a living symbol of their dynasty's merging, a potential heir to both Egypt and Rome. Cleopatra even brought their son to Rome, a scandalous move that terrified the Roman elite, who saw her as a dangerous foreign influence. But their shared ambition was cut short. On the Ides of March in 44 BCE, Julius Caesar was assassinated, leaving Cleopatra and her young son dangerously exposed. Caesar's death threw Rome right back into chaos. Out of the power vacuum, two men rose to the top: Caesar's adopted son, the young, calculating Octavian, and his most trusted general, Mark Antony. Along with a third general, Lepidus, they formed the Second Triumvirate, a three-man dictatorship to rule Rome and hunt down Caesar's killers. Mark Antony was everything Octavian wasn't. He was a charismatic, brilliant soldier who loved a good party and embraced life's pleasures. While Octavian was a cold political animal, Antony was a man of passion, a larger-than-life figure who saw himself as a modern-day Dionysus, the god of wine and wild celebration. After winning the civil war, the triumvirs split the world. Octavian got the west. Antony got the east, the richest part of the republic, which included Egypt. Antony needed money, and a lot of it, to pay his army and fund a massive invasion of the Parthian Empire. He knew exactly who had the key to that treasury: the Queen of Egypt. In 41 BCE, he summoned Cleopatra to the city of Tarsus to answer for supposedly helping his enemies. He planned to put her in her place and tax her kingdom heavily. He had no idea he was about to meet his match. Cleopatra knew this wasn't just a meeting, it was a performance, and she decided to make an entrance no one would ever forget. Instead of arriving by road, she sailed up the river Cydnus in a spectacular golden barge with purple sails. Plutarch paints an incredible picture. Silver oars rowed to the sound of flutes and harps. Cleopatra herself was dressed as Venus, the goddess of love, lounging under a golden canopy, surrounded by attendants dressed as cupids. The air was filled with the scent of expensive perfumes. The spectacle was so stunning that the entire city of Tarsus, including Antony, was left speechless. The word on the street was that the goddess Venus had come to party with the god Dionysus. Antony invited her to dinner, but she cheekily replied that it was more fitting for him to come to her. He did, and was blown away by a display of wealth that made his own look cheap. The next night, Antony tried to outdo her and failed miserably, a fact he was the first to laugh about. He was completely hooked. Just like Caesar, Antony discovered that Cleopatra wasn't just a beauty. She was his equal in every way. She could match his wit, his ambition, and his appetite for life. She drank with him, gambled with him, and hunted with him. The planned interrogation was totally forgotten. Antony put his military plans and his wife back in Rome on hold and followed Cleopatra to Alexandria for a winter of non-stop partying and romance. Their political alliance had turned into a deep, passionate love affair. They would go on to have 3 children together. For Antony, this was more than a fling. His loyalty was shifting from Rome to Alexandria. This passionate bond became the perfect weapon for Antony's rival, Octavian. A master of propaganda, Octavian started a smear campaign, painting Antony as a weak Roman bewitched by a foreign sorceress, a man who had abandoned his Roman duties for an Egyptian queen. In 34 BCE, Antony handed Octavian the ultimate PR gift. After a military campaign, Antony held a massive victory celebration, not in Rome, but in Alexandria. Known as the Donations of Alexandria, the event was pure political theater. Antony and Cleopatra sat on golden thrones, dressed as gods. Antony declared Cleopatra Queen of Kings and her son Caesarion King of Kings. He then gave away huge chunks of eastern territory, some of which were Roman provinces, to their 3 children. In Antony's mind, this was probably a smart way to govern the East. But in Rome, it was seen as treason. Octavian pounced. He told the public that Antony was giving away Roman lands to his foreign lover and her illegitimate kids. He even illegally got his hands on Antony's will and read it aloud to the Senate, revealing Antony's wish to be buried in Alexandria, not Rome. The message was clear. Antony had turned his back on his home. The propaganda war was won. The Senate, whipped into a frenzy by Octavian, declared war, not on their fellow Roman, Antony, but directly on Cleopatra. The final showdown came in 31 BCE at the massive naval battle of Actium. It was a complete disaster for Antony and Cleopatra. Their large, heavy ships were outmaneuvered by Octavian's smaller, quicker fleet. As the battle turned, Cleopatra's squadron broke through the line and fled back to Egypt. Antony, seeing her ships leave, made a fatal decision. He abandoned his men and his entire fleet to follow her. His leaderless forces, crushed and disheartened, surrendered. A year later, Octavian's army arrived in Alexandria. Antony's remaining soldiers gave up without a fight. Hearing a false rumor that Cleopatra was dead, Antony fell on his sword. As he lay dying, a messenger ran in. The queen was alive, barricaded in her tomb. His men carried him to her and hoisted his dying body up to the mausoleum window. Mark Antony died in the arms of the woman for whom he'd sacrificed an empire. Octavian marched into the city a victor, his final prize, capturing Cleopatra and parading her in chains through Rome. Cleopatra knew what was coming. Realizing she would face this ultimate humiliation, she made her final move. As she famously told Octavian, "I will not be led in a triumph." On August 12, 30 BCE, Cleopatra died by suicide. The legend says she had a poisonous snake, an asp, smuggled to her in a basket of figs. Other sources suggest a poison ointment. Whatever the method, she died as she had lived, on her own terms. With Cleopatra's death, 300 years of Ptolemaic rule in Egypt ended. The kingdom became just another Roman province, and its treasury funded Octavian's rise to absolute power. He had Cleopatra's son, Caesarion, executed, brutally wiping out the only other son of Caesar. Now unchallenged, Octavian would take the name Augustus and become Rome's very first emperor, building a new era of peace on the ashes of his rival's love affair. History is often written by the victors, and Octavian's propaganda painted Cleopatra as a depraved seductress. But the truth is so much more interesting. She was a brilliant and powerful ruler who used every tool she had, her mind, her money, her charm, and yes, her sexuality, in a high-stakes gamble to save her country from the Roman machine. She captivated two of the most powerful men of her age, not just with her body, but with an irresistible vision of a shared destiny. It was a gamble she lost, but in losing, she created a legend that made her immortal. If you loved this story, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more deep dives into history's most fascinating characters. Now, we want to hear from you. Let us know in the comments. Do you see Cleopatra as a romantic hero or a ruthless strategist? We'd love to know what you think. Thanks for watching.